Good morning. Good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Wednesday, August the 6th. We're here to look at the new releases in crime fiction and thrillers that were published this week. Hope you're having a good day. So we do these every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Fridays, we'll look at the rest of the cozy mysteries from Monday. Elena says, Good morning. Good morning, Elena. How you doing? She says, you're good here. Good to hear. And she is up early. I got up at 4:15 this morning. Woo, that is early. And Elena also says, I'm getting ready for some more reading and drinking coffee without sugar and creamer. Ooh, good luck with that, because that's sometimes hard, but probably ultimately better for you. Quick announcements. I don't have any sprints tonight. Our next sprints are tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do those sprints every Tuesday and Thursday evenings for 2.5 hours, and then another sprint for 5 hours on Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern. Let's jump into mysteries, crime fiction, and thrillers. Dead to Rights by Gary Quisenberry. After tracking down and eliminating the people who threatened his hometown, Case Younger is finally ready to leave his violent past and settle into a quiet life with the only woman he's ever loved. But a stranger has come to town, one who's handsome, charming, and on a mission to destroy everything Case holds dear. J.C. Wilkes is the last surviving member of the Dead Rebels Motorcycle Club. He's come to Pikesville hunting for Case Younger, and Wilkes didn't come alone. JC knows that Case will be a hard target. To get close, he needs a plan, deception, leverage, and some unsuspecting victims. Life is finally starting to feel right for Case Younger. Love, friends, family, and even a wedding. That's when J.C. Wilkes strikes hard. As the news tightens around Case and his family, allegiances are tested, secrets are revealed, and a new threat comes to light that could destroy the fragile peace Case has worked so hard to find. Departure 37 by Scott Carson. On a clear October day, the American sky is empty after hundreds of pilots refuse to fly, triggering a complete ground stop as authorities seek to explain an act of baffling coordination that the pilots insist was anything but planned. The pilots received disturbing middle-of-the-night calls from their mothers, and each mother had a simple and urgent request: do not fly today. There are a few concerning elements to the calls. None of the mothers remember making them, and some of the mothers are dead. While the nation's military chiefs and artificial intelligence experts mobilize in search of answers, a 16-year-old girl named Charlie on the coast of Maine watches a strange silvery balloon drift across the water and toward her home, a place she loathes. Her father's dream of opening a craft brewery on an old airfield has been a disaster, and all she wants is an escape back to Brooklyn. She's about to get much more than that. Her new home is ground zero for a story that begins at a remote naval base in Indiana during the winter of 1962, when a physicist named Martin Hazelton discovered something extraordinary and deadly. All Hazelton wanted was time to seek an explanation, but pressure from both American and Russian actors forced him into a perilous race. Moving between the two characters and timelines, Scott Carson deftly weaves Cold War espionage with contemporary terror. And Elena says, yes, indeed, it is difficult. Hollow Spaces by Victor Suthamanant. That's a fun one. 30 years ago, John Lowe was acquitted of the murder of an employee he was having an affair with. The repercussions of that long-ago event still haunt his adult children. Brennan, a lawyer following in her father's footsteps in more ways than one, has always maintained that the trial got it right. Hunter, a disgruntled war correspondent whose similarities to his father run more than skin deep, believes their father got away with murder. Their opposing convictions have pushed them apart. Now, spurred by their mother's failing health, the estranged siblings decide to reconcile their differences by reinvestigating the murder to come to a definitive conclusion. Also told in a dual timeline. Sarah Stewart Taylor has a new one, second in her Bethany, Vermont series. It's a new series for her. This is called Hunter's Heart Ridge. It's November of 1965 and the second weekend of Vermont's regular deer season when Vermont State Police Detective Franklin Warren is called out to what looks like an accidental shooting at the Ridge Club, an exclusive men's hunting and fishing club for congressmen, diplomats, judges, and titans of industry. A former ambassador has been shot while out hunting. With the war in Vietnam picking up speed on the other side of the world, Warren quickly realizes that many of the club's members are powerful men who may have ulterior motives and connections in high places. While Warren's suspicions about the club members build, his neighbor Alice Bellows is throwing a dinner party, preparing for Thanksgiving, and worrying about her pregnant friend and fellow widow Sylvie Weber, whose due date is coming up. When Alice's old handler and friend Arthur Cranach unexpectedly shows up in Bethany, Alex begins to wonder whether his presence has anything to do with the death at the hunting club. As an early season snowstorm bears down on Bethany, knocking out power and phone lines and blocking the roads, Warren and his assistant, Trooper Pinky Goodrich, are trapped at the Ridge Club, likely along with a killer, and Alice, increasingly fearful that her past in the intelligent world is no longer in the past, will have to act fast to save Sylvie and her baby. $10 says that the child is born. End of row 1. Kim says, good morning. Good morning, Kim. Did you get rest yesterday after your shot? I forgot to ask last night. My Father's House by Ulf Kvensler. Isaac works in home care in a small town in Schmaland. One day, he is contacted by his father, an internationally known artist who left Isaac when he was a child. His father is dying, and his only wish is to reconcile what remains of their relationship as father and son. He promises Isaac his fortune, but Isaac has certain reservations. Alongside his girlfriend Maddie, Isaac decides to visit his father, but the line between nightmare and reality blurs as family secrets unravel. Mississippi Blue 42. Special Agent Ray Johnson grew up on football fields alongside her father, a national championship winning coach, which is exactly why, fresh out of Quantico, she's sent down to Thompson, Mississippi to investigate the illicit money flowing into a bustling football program in the heart of the Delta. But 2 days into the assignment, things take a dire turn when UCM's star quarterback is flung from the roof of a college bar, lands on a bag of money, and dies. Hoping to turn a routine fraud case into a career-defining bust, Ray ingratiates herself with the fans, coaches, players, and politicians who make up the university's complex social hierarchy. With rumors of corruption rustling through the kudzu finds, Ray soon realizes there's more to the game than what she'd learned as a child, and in order to win, she'll have to put all her father's lessons to the ultimate test. Elena says hello to Kim, and Kim says, haven't heard of them. Ridiculous. Oh, dear. And Kim says hi to Elena. Elena says, me neither. Art of the Lie by Laura Shepard Robinson. Looks like it's set in 18th century England. I kind of like that time period. That's one of my favorites. Following the murder of her husband in what looks like a violent street robbery, Hannah Cole is struggling to keep her head above water. Her confectionery shop on Piccadilly is barely turning a profit, her suppliers conspiring to put her out of business because they don't like women in trade. They don't really like men in trade either. Henry Fielding, the famous author turned magistrate, is threatening to confiscate the money in her husband's bank account because he believes it might have been illicitly acquired. And even those who claim to be Hannah's friends have darker intent. Only William Devereux seems different. A friend of her late husband, Devereux helps Hannah unravel some of the mysteries surrounding his death. He also tells her about an Italian delicacy called iced cream, an innovation she is convinced will transform the fortunes of her shop. But their friendship opens Hannah to speculation and gossip and draws Henry Fielding's attention her way, locking her into a battle of wits more devastating than anything she can imagine. The Dead Husband Cookbook by Danielle Valentine. When infamous chef, restaurateur, and television personality Maria Capello's husband died, the media circus was intense and quick to cast the blame. Whispers claimed Maria murdered her husband to build her culinary empire on his bones, and that there was an all too grisly reason his body was never recovered. Yet for the past few decades, the Capello family maintained their stony silence, until now. Thea Woods has no idea why she was chosen to work with Maria on her sure-to-be infamous memoir, but she doesn't question her luck. Spirited away to the Capello's rustic upstate farm, she's soon embroiled in the mystery and cut off from the rest of the world. It should be the job of a lifetime, but something's not quite right with the close-knit clan, and Damien Capello isn't the only one to go mysteriously missing over the years. As the true story of Maria's past unfolds and the stench of rot hidden behind the kind coastal grandmother veneer rises, Thea finds herself trapped and desperately afraid. Because there are reasons why Damien's body was never found, and why, in over 30 years, Maria Capello has never revealed the secret ingredient in her most famous recipe. End of that row. Kim says, I'm about ready to say just forget it, but I do have bone issues. Yeah. Elena says, oh no, I hate bone issues. Yep. Not fun. I'm always of the opinion to chase them down. They won't do anything. Inertia. So you gotta get in their face. The Devil's Advocate by Steve Kavanaugh, 6th in the Eddie Flynn series. Why does this say? Hang on, sorry. We're going to do a little check here. Oh, okay. They've just pre-listed ones to be published later. This is The Devil's Advocate, 6th in the Eddie Flynn series. He's won every trial because he's behind every murder. Whoa! Ambitious District Attorney Randall Korn lives to watch prisoners executed, even if they're not guilty. Whoa! Okay, we've gone really dark. An innocent man, Andy Dubois, faces the death penalty for the murder of a young girl. Korn has already fixed things to make sure he wins a fast conviction. The one thing Korn didn't count on was Eddie Flynn. Slick, street smart, and cunning, the former con artist and now New York lawyer has only 7 days to save an innocent man against a corrupt system and find the real killer. In a week, the judge will read the verdict, but will Eddie be alive to hear it? I'm strangely intrigued. I was also strangely intrigued by the last book. I don't know why. Maybe because it's Garbogust. The Locked Ward by Sarah Pekkanen. A shocking psychological thriller, blah, blah, blah. Some doors should never be opened. Was it bitter, all-consuming jealousy, pathological sibling rivalry, pure insanity? Whatever the case, and everyone has a theory, it's the crime of the decade when glamorous Georgia Cartwright, who was adopted as a newborn, is accused of killing the biological daughter of her wealthy Southern family. Georgia is locked in a psychiatric institution where the most violent offenders are held while she awaits trial. The only words she whispers when her estranged twin sister Amanda visits are, I didn't do it. You've got to get me out of here. Amanda doesn't trust Georgia, but she can't abandon her in a place so eerie and menacing that it seems to exist in another dimension. Is Georgia the victim of a powerful family that's so depraved murder is the least of their crimes? Or is Amanda being led down a path of madness into the web of a master manipulator? The meaning of the murder. The father of a modern Orthodox Jewish family works as a compliance officer at a bank in New York. When he discovers that his bank is violating OFAC laws and funding terrorists in the Middle East, he alerts the bank's top brass. They ignore him. After struggling with the conflict between his position as a fully assimilated member of his professional community and his moral obligations as a man and a Jew, he turns whistleblower and goes to the DOJ. The night before his deposition, he disappears. Eliana Golden was 13 when her father disappeared. Years later, after surprising her family by joining the NYPD, Eliana meets a mysterious and alluring soldier, a man who is far more dangerous than Eliana and everyone except those at the highest and most secret levels of the U.S. government understands. And he knows exactly what happened to her father. What follows is a journey into the darkest depths of America's covert war against terrorism and the horrific moral compromises it can entail. The Wrong Sister by Claire Douglas. Whoops. You've known her all your life, or have you? Tasha and her older sister Alice may look alike, but they couldn't be more different. Tasha's married with 2 children and still lives in their hometown near Bristol. Alice is a high-flying scientist who travels the world with her equally successful husband. Yet each sister would trust the other with her life. When Tasha and her husband Aaron need a break and Alice offers to stay in their home with the kids, Tasha knows her family is in safe hands. She couldn't be more wrong. The call from home is devastating. Alice and her husband Kyle have been attacked, leaving Alice in intensive care and Kyle dead. Rushing to the hospital, Tasha finds the police trying to piece events together. She can't think why anyone would attack her sister. Then the note arrives, addressed to Tasha. It was supposed to be you. Well, no kidding. Every family has secrets, some more deadly than others. It's not shocking. End of that row. Throwing Shadows, Sheriff Hank Worth, Mystery Number 7 by Claire Booth. When a hiker stumbles from the woods raving about a dead man, Sheriff Hank Worth launches a search. Near the infamous landmark of Murder Rocks, a Civil War-era hideout for ambushers who robbed and killed passing travelers, they unearth 2 bodies and a skeleton. Local legend says there's caches of stolen gold buried in the area, and thanks to some recent nationwide publicity, the Ozark backwoods are now soaring with out-of-town treasure hunters who have little concern for Hank's murder investigation. With the clock ticking, Hank must identify the victims and the killer. But could the new pursuit of long-lost plunder really have led to multiple deaths? Meanwhile, secrets uncovered in Hank's personal life are taking a toll. He and his wife are trying to bridge the painful gap that's widening daily. As it threatens to split them apart, Hank doesn't know what's tougher, murder or marriage. With both taking everything he has, all he does know is that old sins throw long shadows. L.A. Women by Ella Berman. After a steady descent from literary stardom, Lane Warren is back. She secured a new book deal based off the life of her sometime friend and more often rival, Gayla Margulis. Lane's only problem is that notorious free spirit Gayla has been missing for months. 10 years earlier, Gayla was a charming socialite, and Lane was a Hollywood outsider amidst the glittering 1960s LA party scene. Though they were never best friends, Lane found Gayla sharp and compelling. Gayla liked that Lane took her seriously. They were both writers. They were drawn to each other. That was until Gayla's star began to rise and Lane grew envious. Then Lane did something that she wouldn't ever be able to take back, changing the trajectories of both of their lives. This is exploring the impossible choices women face when ambition collides with intimacy. At what cost does great art emerge, and who pays the price? Joy Fielding has a new one. Jenny Cooper has a secret. Reeling from her husband's death and best friend's dementia diagnosis, 76-year-old Linda Davidson feels lost and alone. Her beloved daughter Cleo and son-in-law Mick have moved into her house to keep her company, but the constant bickering quickly turns their presence into yet another worry on Linda's long list. Eager to escape the tension at home, Linda goes to visit her friend at Legacy Place, a memory care facility for the elderly, where she meets Jenny Cooper, a 92-year-old dementia patient who makes a shocking confession. She kills people. Linda dismisses the so-called secret as the confusion of an ailing mind, but Jenny seems strangely lucid during their visits as she recounts stories of her many victims, mostly men who hurt her. Then a fellow patient at Legacy Place dies. Everyone else sees it as the natural death of a sick old man, but Linda can't help but wonder, is there any chance Jenny's telling the truth? The Understudy by Morgan Richter. After years of rigorous instruction and ensemble work, Kit finally gets her big break when she's hired to play the lead role in a new opera based on the 1960s cult classic film Barbarella. Seriously? Yeah, it's a cult. Yeah. Wonder how they do the torture scene that Duran Duran puts Barbarella in. Entrusted with playing the beautiful and seductive titular role, Kit is on her way to the top of the highly competitive world of New York City opera, but when she walks into rehearsal and meets her understudy, stunning, suggestive, and bursting with the unbridled confidence of a novice, Yolanda is physically everything Barbarella is meant to be. At first, Kit isn't threatened by the neophyte until Yolanda reveals that she wants the role and will do anything to get it. As Yolanda's schemes become increasingly more reckless, she draws an unwitting Kit into her orbit. But when a brutal murder destabilizes the company and threatens her role, Kit discovers that Yolanda's glamorous veneer conceals something much more sinister. Hunting down the betrayed friends and discarded lovers from Yolanda's past and unearthing secrets she's worked hard to bury, Kit realizes just how far Yolanda is willing to go to get what she wants, and the number of enemies she made in the process. Last one and the bell's about to go. Sheepdogs by Elliot Ackerman. Squirrel and Cheese are down on their luck and about to find themselves tangled in the heist of their lives. Squirrel, once an elite member of the CIA's paramilitary unit, was cast out after a raid gone wrong in Afghanistan. Big Cheese Aziz, a former Afghan pilot of legendary skill, now works the graveyard shift at a gas station. Recruited into a shadowy network of sheepdogs, they embark on a mission to repossess a multi-million-dollar private jet stranded on a remote African airfield. But as they wind through a labyrinth of lies and hidden agendas, they discover that nothing is as it seems. Their contact vanishes, their handlers' motives are suspect, and the true source of their payday remains a mystery. With the stakes skyrocketing and the women in their lives drawn into the fray, this unlikely spy duo find themselves deep in the underbelly of modern war and intelligence. From the jungles of Kampala to the glitz of Marseille, they need to be as cunning as they are bold to survive in a game where the line between the hunters and the hunted is razor thin. Wafer thin. All right, that is all we have for today. Elena says, I hope everything is okay for Kim. Oh, very nice. Thank you for that, Elena. And Kim says, have a great day, y'all. And Elena says, see you later, Kim. And I'm going to head out as well. See you Friday and Saturday. All righty, sweet. Have a good day. Thank you, guys. So we'll be back on Friday to look at the rest of the Cozy Mysteries. And our next sprints are tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys very much. Have a good day. And as the banner says, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.